I have been trying to share this story for a very long time. I think I've recorded this video a few times. I actually never managed to edit the video, but here you have it. Police came to my house some years ago. It's been a while, but each time I hear stories about police or I see police, I just remember. I was discussing with my son a few days ago about this exact story, because it has to do with my son. So police came because of my son. At the time he was about 8 years old. Police then came to my house with gun, 2 police. There was a woman and then there was a man. You know how they dress, intimidating, although they were really nice, but they came into my house and let me tell you something. I was panicking. I'm going to be telling you this full story just to share my experience and get this off my mind. But before we go on, let us talk about our sponsor for today. LemFi, formerly known as Lemonade Finance. Are you looking for a way to transfer money quickly, easily, with zero charges, no hidden charges? Come closer. You're at the right place. You need to download LemFi. I have used them for so long and they're reliable. If you live in the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, and you want to send money to Ghana, to Nigeria, and so many other African countries and counting, then you need to download LemFi. They have the best transfer rate. If you use my referral code while you're downloading the app, Gloria Otiko, all capital letter, no space, download the app. Use my referral code. You get £10 back once you transfer above £100. Or even when you want to transfer your money, just use my referral code, Gloria Otiko. You have nothing to lose. It is free. You will get the best exchange rates. Download LemFi. Thank you, LemFi, for actually sponsoring this video. Let's go back to our video. Police came to my house some few years ago. At the time, my son was about 8 years old. Now that I speak to you, my son is 11. He's going to be 12 years in the next coming months, and that was one of the most traumatizing experience of my life. That day sent shock into me. Before you judge or before you say anything, please watch to understand what really happened. Now it's just like a story. I don't think there was anything racial or anything personal about the whole thing. I think it was just the way the whole story happened and how the person involved took it. And it was very scary for me at the time because, I don't know, for some reason I was a softie. The whole story started when I was working and then my husband called me and said, you know, my husband doesn't take things too seriously the way I do take things. Maybe because he was in the force and all that stuff, but he didn't take things the way I took it. He called me just randomly with nothing, you know, no major big deal, no big deal. He called me and said, police came because of my son. That's our first son. And they were going to come back later. I'm like, what happened? I was panicking because I was on a night shift. I was panicking. He was going for a day shift. He was going to work. And I was like, what happened? My heart was racing. My brain was going all over the place. I was driving home with all question in my heart. I asked him what happened. He said it was not a big deal. It had to do with a cat. I'm like, cat go. If you know me and if you know where I'm from, we and cat were like word and opposite. We don't do together. Like we don't roll. We don't do. Once we cat, my son, police. So they said police is coming to my house. And it was actually extremely terrifying. I couldn't understand it. So I got home that day. I remember it was early in the morning. They said they had come a day before. According to my husband, he said they came. So when he called me, I think I was working a day before they actually came the next day. So when he called me, he said they came by the time my sons were all in school. So they said because it involves my son, they were going to come back the next day, which he was not going to be around. That's my husband. I was going to be the one who was going to be at home. So that was why he was phoning me. That was how the whole thing played out. So fast forward to the next day. 2 police showed up, like I said. Showed up at my house and they were like, excuse me, my name is blah, blah, blah. They introduced themselves nicely, walked into my sitting room. Hey. Walked into my sitting room and they're like, yesterday a neighbor a neighbor of ours, and this community that we lived in at the time, we moved from that community to where we are just now. We were the only Africans in that whole community, the only black. So I always tell my children they have to behave themselves. They have to represent Africa. They have to be responsible. They have to try. You know how children just do things. And luckily enough, I've never had any problem whatsoever by the grace of God. I always tell my child, I say, look, if you and your friends go to do something, before your friend will be called out, you will be called out, not for anything special, for nothing against you, but because you are the only African in this whole community. So if you hit your leg on a rock, everybody knows it is Gloria's son. They know you. Everybody knows that we are the only one in that community. And if you go anywhere, they know. In fact, somebody will see me in the office and be like, oh, we saw your sons riding their bicycle across my house yesterday, and they just waved. It was that serious, because we are the only obvious people in the community. Lovely community, like I said, lovely people. We lived there for over 2 years and we enjoyed our stay. So they came and said a neighbor had complained. No, not even complained, phoned the police to report my son. What had happened was my 2 sons, they usually ride their bike to the school. They were riding their bike to the school, and I don't know what came over my 8-year-old son at the time. Even now, when I asked him, like, what came over you, he still cannot tell. He said so the boy saw a cat, and according to him, he thought the cat was homeless. So he thought the cat was homeless, but the cat was sitting somewhere close to somebody else's house. And my son decided, with his small brain at the time, to run after this cat. Not just run after this cat, ran for a few minutes, caught this cat, carried this cat, and was petting the cat instead of going straight to school. And he was like, oh, I've caught the cat. And according to the owner of the cat, she saw them through her camera, came out and shouted. So my son kept the cat on the floor, ran, got his bike with his younger brother who was just watching because he was way younger. And then he rode to school. So that was the whole thing. This woman decided to phone the police to say my son was going to steal her cat. And my son was a danger to her babies. So the police came because she claimed that those cats, according to her, she's lost her husband, unfortunately. And those cats, she doesn't have any kid. And those cats were her babies. So for the fact that my son ran after the cat, she said the cats were traumatized. My son had hurt the cat. There was no injury. It's not like my son did anything, but she got scared that my son was stealing the cat. This is a home where my husband will not even use eye to see cats. Eh? Do you know where I'm from? Do you know what we call cats? Cats? Cats, okay? The police came and they were like talking, and the next thing, then I was a softie. Like I tell you, when I got into this country, the first few years, I was a hot mess. I cry all the time. I'll be trekking on the road, I'll be crying. In the office, a junior will do something, let's say Kara does something to me, I'll be crying. I just cry. I always cried, but now I don't open eye. I always cried all the time. So the way these police people were talking and interrogating, I started crying. I started crying. They're like, oh, are you crying? I'm like, I couldn't speak because I was so angry at my son. I'm like, why will you make police come to my house? It looks too bad. Like, I hate it. I don't like it. I'm not used to things like this. And the police said, oh, I guess this is the first time your son is ever getting into trouble. I'm like, yes. I said, look, my husband was in the force. I'm a nurse. We don't go beyond our limits. We do what we're supposed to do. We don't do anything that is against the law. We try to stay as low as possible because we're very obvious in this country and we don't want any trouble. We're immigrants here. It was, oh God, you need to say it is now that I'm thinking about it. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. So he's like, okay, it's not a big deal. The only thing that they are going to go, they'll investigate the case the more. They've gotten the camera footage of the whole thing that happened because the woman has got camera around the house, and that they were going to investigate and get back to us. Hey God. I was so angry. I was so upset at my son for, why will you run after somebody else's cat? Why can't you just mind your business? You don't understand. Few days went by, I think the next day or so, Then police called to say they've closed the case. There was no big deal. They've seen the camera. He didn't hurt the cat. And I think the woman was just upset and was just afraid of a child. A child. A child. Anyway, the woman was just afraid and worried about the safety of the cat. That was why the woman called to report, blah, blah, blah. They were going to close the case. But before the case got closed, they were going to send Animal Protection Service to my house. So they then closed the case according to them. And a few days later, I was at home. I remember a woman came knocking at my door, even without booking an appointment or anything. And she came in, she said she's from Animal Protection because the case had been escalated and reported to them about my son running after a cat. And now my son is now going to have to come to their place if it is convenient for my son to start undergoing some training about how to be gentle with animals, how to handle them, knowing what the animals will love and what they will not love. Or they can integrate it in his teaching in the school just so he knows not to run after cats. And but the woman actually said she thinks this was over exaggerated. She said, look, I understand this must be stressful for you, and I think it was overblown. Or that she just have to do it just because it's the case. At the end of the day, that was how the case died down. And I've been meaning to share this story a long time just because I just feel like sharing it. I don't know why I feel like sharing it. I don't know what this is going to do to anybody, but I just feel like just sharing it because it was an experience. And each time, even up to last week, I still thought about the whole thing and I asked myself, like, come, do you remember when the police came to the house because of you? And it's just to show you how things are taken really seriously in this country. Ordinary cats. But anyway, anyhow, it happened and that was it. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'm just wanted to rant and just to talk. That's it. Thank you. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and please share my videos. Share my videos now because thank you so much for watching. I remain your baby girl of life, Gloria. Take